Welcome to Voices of Art interviews with master artists. And I have the pleasure of interviewing today DLammie Hanson. Hi, how are you?
Hi. Thanks for asking me, to be a part of this, Dr. Myra. I've
Oh,
been
my
such a huge
pleasure.
fan of yours for years, although you didn't know it, but hey.
I was so I guess I got like a little girl when I'd come to your interview
Uh-huh.
on Instagram Live.
hmm
And you said you don't remember me, and I'm like starstruck at what it is that you do.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I was just so honored for you to acknowledge me. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
So tell us where you were born and raised.
I was born and raised in Harlem, Harlem Hospital. My basic stretch of land that I used to go to was from 147th Street to 125th Street. I was
Hmm.
danced at school at 125th Street and at Teresa Towers, which is still there, um, and went to school 138th Street. So basically, I stayed in that stretch of land for the first part of my life until I was like 15.
Oh,
And then I went to school downtown, high school, St. Jean Baptiste in 75th on the east side. So
nice.
yeah,
Wow. So, did you go to did you go to a regular high school? Did
no,
you?
everything I did from, I tell you, from I think the moment I got out of the womb to high school, graduating high school was all Catholic education.
Okay.
So it was it was St. Benedict's was my great I mean my what do you call it? St. Benedict's was like right across the street from uh Harlem Hospital, but kind of embedded where is that? I forgot they call it, but I forget the name of the buildings that are surrounding it. But and then everything was happening at 138th Street at St. Mark the Evangelist. Uh, every ceremony that you can go through if you're Catholic happened there.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and then I ended up going to St. Jean Baptiste down 75th and between Lexington and Third for high school. And then when I went to college, that's the first time I wasn't in private school. And well, I call Catholic school private because you're paying for it,
Yeah.
but was Albany State. And Albany was too big that I wasn't getting anything. So I downgraded to a community college, which was Hudson Valley Community College. And it was, and the funniest thing is like my favorite teacher was an ex-nun teaching
Wow.
psychology, and I aced her class. So basically I knew the language that she was talking. She wasn't in the big university. It was always like wah 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 wah. It's like you have 300 people in your freshman class. You're not listening. You don't hear anything. And I come from a place where my graduating class was 85. You know what I mean? So it's you're not paying attention to your education so much as you're paying attention to
Mhm.
everything else around you. So I just, to me, that was just right. Yeah.
And yeah, I was just having that conversation with someone about that. The first college that I went to was Boston University, and
hmm
the classes were like 300 in an
hmm
auditorium. The teacher
Exactly.
had an assistant that stood on the platform with him or her, usually with him more
hmm
so. And you looked at a screen, and that's how you got your lesson. And when you come from, and I had gone to an alternative high school, so it was super intimate. And then going from that to like a 300, like you said, a 300 student space. And
hmm
then in order for you to talk to the professor, you had to set a meeting up, and you may not you may not get the professor, you may have to speak to their assistant. So I get what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So when you were in college, what was your major?
Don't laugh, but it was when I went to Albany, it was psychology and German. I don't know.
Oh,
I was hanging out with the Germans, so I wanted to know what they were speaking. Then when I transferred
wow.
over, I just did individual studies and liberal arts. I did take an art class to know the basics of like just I just wanted to paint and stretch canvas. I learned how to stretch canvas. I learned how to work with oil. Um, Other than that, I just continued my psychology stuff, took a couple of more German classes, and just the things to get graduated because I was at the university for 2 years. So to at Albany for 2 years. So I was just trying to at least get some sort of degree. I couldn't go home without a degree.
Right.
That's how I felt. I'm like, I didn't want my mother to like totally be upset or disappointed with me, wasting time.
Mhm.
So finally did that. And then I swear the moment I came back to New York, I pretty much hit the ground running as an artist. Um,
Wow.
but it was, I had a lot of support in my friends. So they would always come to my shows and stuff like that. And, it just felt like it was the right thing to do, you know.
So what was your medium of choice then?
It was acrylic and oil on canvas, or actually anything I can get my hands on because of the fact that I didn't have the money at the
Mhm.
time to buy certain materials. I actually would go to I'm trying to think. I went to an art store and got their markdown, which was always the Mars colors, which were the muted,
That's
nothing
right.
really vibrant, the Mars colors, and it was oil. I didn't really know how to work with acrylic yet, so oil was just the thing to do, and gessoing, knowing how to gesso and protect the surface of the piece before you actually build up on the painting. So
Mhm.
that is something that I just love to do, And when I was actually doing it, I was more geared towards working on women and emotional, like the sad emotional stuff, but making them look beautiful in their emotions. That's how I always assumed it would work because I was probably going through those emotions at the same time. So I would identify with the emotions I would see and I would paint them. Um, that's got me through, to continue to work.
So then you went, I know, did I remember you telling me that you went south and then went to
Yeah.
Chicago?
Yeah, I left New York in 2008 because I lost my job, but I couldn't get another job. Remember, everything went down in 2008.
Mhm.
So my mom was sick too. So as a family, we moved her from Florida to Georgia to Atlanta, and I moved down. And wait till she got stabilized. My sister came in. I had a sister there already, and she had adult children. So when my other sister came in and mom was stabilized, I was like, oh. I went to New Orleans because I knew someone. I knew a couple of people from New Orleans, but as I was discovering what fit me, New Orleans was a better fit than Atlanta for me. There was so much more creativity, a lot more culture, but historical culture that you could appreciate. To me, it reminded me of Brooklyn, just south, in its own little way,
Wow. Wow.
because they have history like Brooklyn does, like New York does.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
and then on top of it, you can be an individual. You don't have to be one of a hive.
Mhm.
And that was very important to me because I have my own individual way of expressing myself and talking. And I like to be around people who do the same thing. and we can understand each other in each other's point of view.
Mhm.
I, on the other hand, don't like being around people who get scared when I speak my mind. And when you're of a hive mind, there's a good chance nobody really, wants to hear what you got to say or how you express yourself, whether it's through art, and at the time that I was in New Orleans and part of the time I was in Brooklyn, I was in a band. So at some point, I went from, I had the band in New Orleans, I mean, not New Orleans, in New York. And then I had another band in Atlanta. But when I got to New Orleans, I stopped the band. I just stopped music altogether and just focused on art. It was the one thing you
Wow.
can, it's the one thing you can control yourself. When it comes to band and bandmates, you have so many personalities that can clash that people forget about the love of music,
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, it happens. So,
hmm
what kind of music did you do? Were you a singer a
I was
musician?
a singer. I was a singer songwriter. I did all the lyrics, and we would do the melody together. We would, collaborate. Um, but it was more like it was a combination. It was definitely a rock feel to it. Whenever I would show up on the stage, and it was much bigger when I was in New York, they always assumed I would come out doing Aretha kind of soul. I was actually doing rock, alternative rock
Wow.
if you really want to do it. So
Interesting. Wow.
my influences were like, and this is because I'm an 80s kid. I used to love alternative rock and new wave. So my style was I loved Kate Bush, and
Mm-hmm.
some people don't know Kate Bush, but I love Kate Bush. There was a band called Cocteau Twins I liked, and then I like the guitar work of The Cure.
Mm-hmm.
So you put those all together and you just come up with your own, kind of feeling.
Nice. Wow, that's exciting. Wow. I'm from Massachusetts. So I get it.
Yes.
Yeah. So you get to Chicago. Is that
hmm
when you started really paint
No,
not
when
yet?
I tell you when I really started painting my heart out was when I was in Brooklyn. And the reason why is because there was such a great support system for me to continue to be an artist. When I went down to Atlanta, I just thought I could become a full-time artist, but at the time it was still the market bust and stuff like. I didn't know anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got to New Orleans, I knew one or two people, and then the next thing you know, you end up becoming part of individual friendships and stuff. They tell you when there's art festivals, and like they just tell you. But at one point, and I was still doing it. I even had a job. I was still doing art passionately, but it wasn't until maybe about 2016 when I was leaving. I miss you too, Liana. um, it's like, oh, and my brother's on, my brother Percy. Hi, Percy. Anyway, so at one point, I quit my job. And well, I'll say it like this: I applied for a residency in Barcelona, and that I'm going to tell you that was my husband's idea because he's my research and development. He comes up with all these great ideas to do something creatively, and he's the one who got me to create bigger because he realized that I put the same amount of energy in small pieces that I could do bigger, and you can feel the peace. So I wanted to learn how to do something like that. He introduced Silver Point. So you should really think about it because he knew I love Leonardo da Vinci. He knew I love classic, and he knew I love like the romanticism and the gothic feeling
Mm-hmm.
of the way art is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't think I was going to do that, do silver. But we went to Barcelona, quit my job, and I was just going to go for a couple of months, but then my job all of a sudden said, we're not going there. And
Mhm.
my other brother is from Australia, just came on.
Oh, nice.
So the thing is, I went to Barcelona, and it took me about 2 weeks into it to figure out what I was doing, because I couldn't, at the time, right when I left, I was doing brown paper bag artwork, meaning I was creating paintings on mosaic kind, not mosaic, tapestry type of brown paper bags, or little individual. So I brought little individual ones, and I was testing it out on the brown paper bag. And he looked at me and he was like, we could have left our ashes in New Orleans, if you're going to do it that way. So what we did, hi, Susie. I'm sorry, I have to say hi to them because they're,
Well, we're going to say hi to them
yeah.
so we can have time to hear your
Yeah.
story.
So
Thank you all
um,
for coming, though.
thank you. So in New Orleans, I mean, when we were in Barcelona, I got black paper, and then we started making what do you call charcoal out of we started making charcoal out of sugar, we needed something to bind to the paper. And so we finally made it out of wine vines, and we coated the paper, the black paper, with the charcoal from the wine vines, and the silver was able to go on. And then I started drawing on my inspiration. The two things that inspire me all the time are black dance, Alvin Ailey.
Mhm.
I love Alvin Ailey, Revelation. That's my
Mhm.
favorite dance. So I started that. And then at the time, I was falling in love with, or re-falling in love with, James Baldwin. And so I did 3 things of James Baldwin.
Right.
Then I went back and I did, and they were smaller, and then there were bigger pieces. And then there was one piece I did of Alvin Ailey, of not just the dance, but the man himself. I was always challenging myself to see if I could do him, because I didn't want to mess him up, because I wanted to make him beautiful. So as time went on, I came back to New Orleans, and I'm not working anymore. So I just started doing full time. And right before I left, I became friends with a gallery in New Orleans, and they are Where You're At. Is called Where You're At. In New Orleans, we always, I sound like I'm
Mhm.
still there, but it's like, how they say who dat, and it's like
Right.
where you at, and so where you at, and the name of the gallery is called Where Art. So, and I told them this is the work I'm doing, and they embraced me. Before you know it, Manya came back in 2017. They were so supportive that I think they put me in the mix for something that was happening for the tricentennial of New Orleans, which was 25 artists. No, 12 artists do 25 pieces. So I
Wow.
ended up doing, every single piece got published
Mhm.
the Times Picayune newspaper. So all the artists' work for the tricentennial got published there. And before you know it, I did something for the Essence Fest. And that was their 25th anniversary, and 25 is silver. So I said, why not do something to celebrate Essence 25th? And with that, I was able to get a residency with the Arts Council of New Orleans, and they gave me a studio space and let me show the work. So it was just one of those great, amazing things that was
I
happening. And
love it. I love it. I love it. There's a saying or a thing that I always say,
mhm,
metaphysically, with where thoughts go, energy flows. And
exactly.
so, and all you have to do is do the work. There's like so
That's
much to go
exactly.
around. People don't realize that.
I do have to tell you this, between the trying to get the show to find out where I can have the show, I had no place. All I had to do was keep doing the work. I kept saying the place is going to find me.
That's
I
right.
just cannot
That's
do
right.
the work. Their
That's right.
anniversary is coming. I have to have artwork. regardless of if I had a place. Before you know it, I applied and I got in, and I swear I cried like crazy. I also, one of my pieces also ended up at the Ogden Museum of Southern Art, which is in New Orleans.
Hmm.
And that was one of the pieces that I did in Barcelona. And so to me, it made me feel that I made the right decision to do that step into my future
I love it. I
by
love it.
dedicating to knowing my new craft
So can you just quick, not a long, you know,
thing.
yeah. Well, I didn't want to say it like that because it's important, but
Uh-huh.
I want everyone to see your phenomenal work. And there's a couple of other things I want to talk about before we go
Hmm.
there. Can you tell folks what silver point is?
Silver point is drawing with metal wires. And this is one of the thickest wires, so you can pretty much see it. Most people use it with a stylus, which I have one, but I rather use it with my hand. And you're actually drawing on it, and you're being very sensitive. Now, see, I'm doing it on black, and I'm using it as a reflective light. If you could see, the light is reflecting off of the wall, but most people do it on a what do you call it, on a white surface, and the silver goes dark on the white surface. I actually like the black because the black is the presence of black skin to me, and I build up the light for this for the shine of the skin.
So
But
what is, so, oh, I'm
I
sorry.
forgot to tell you, it's 500 euro. um, it's something that Da Vinci and his contemporaries used to use before there was pencil. The other thing that they would use is probably like clay, but they would they would use it to write. The scribes would write in their books with it. They would do it as a background sketch for a painting that they were going to do later. I use it as the artwork itself.
Okay, so is silver, is the is the wire silver or is the
Yeah.
surface you're
No,
working on?
the wire is silver. The wire is silver.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, wow.
And
And
this is black, and this is like the mattest black I could get. It like absorbs 99% of the light.
so what
It's
is
so
that? What is that medium that you're scratching?
it's acrylic on wood, but
Oh, okay.
yeah. But my thing is that I over time I had to find the blackest black, you know. And I finally found it, and now you see how dark it is here, and how I can build up from the silver.
Oh, so you get, so the wood is the light part that you're
No, no, no. The wood is the dark part. The wood is black. I paint it black, and then I draw with the silver.
right, but what I'm saying is when you get to that lighter part, that
Hmm.
lighter part is what the natural color of the wood is.
Nope.
Really?
Everything, everything you see here is pure silver. This is building
Oh,
up. I'm building up in silver. So
oh,
everything you see is silver. You see how the light will reflect when my hand goes down and
yeah.
up. So what you're actually seeing is the light reflecting off of the silver.
Oh, which comes off of that wire.
There you go.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
So this
Amazing.
is everything you see here is all pure metal. The black is acrylic, right there.
Wow. I love it. I love it. So before we look at your work, I know that you call yourself also a um how was it said? You are a woman, well,
NFT?
an NFT, but but there was a way that you said it. A woman of color or an
NFT
NFT
woman.
artist of
Yes,
color.
There you go.
So I've been trying. I mean, NFT is not a. It's not for the faint of heart. Is that what they say? I don't think.
Yeah.
Um,
Well.
I did take you up on your suggestion and
Mhm,
started listening and looking. Because
mhm,
all I thought about was Bitcoins, and then a couple of people that I've communicated with, or I think I'm friends on Instagram with as well,
mhm,
just said that, oh, I just sold my first NFT. And
mhm.
I was like, wow, that's interesting. So I don't want you to, I mean, you're not, I didn't hire you to teach of this, but I do want to just let folks know, especially artists, that there's an option out there for
Mhm,
you to do something different with your work, still be able to keep the original, right?
mhm, mhm,
And just and have your image live
mhm,
for many, many centuries to come, right?
mhm, mhm.
So
And get paid from it.
and get paid from it. And
Mhm,
which I thought was so fascinating, um, is that, I mean, because I had done an exhibition, I curated an exhibition of an elder, and one of my good friends, who is a phenomenal businesswoman, and when she sells her art, she sells it with a contract. I mean, you have to
mhm,
fill out a
mm.
contract. If you want to resell her work, she gets first dibs. If she can't purchase it back, because of course it will have appreciated,
Mhm.
she gets a percentage. And that's what I really
And
liked about
that's
the NFT, is that
that's
you
why
can
I did it.
negotiate percentage of where it's being purchased. And the great part about it, it's not like selling a print per se, like a,
Yeah.
I mean, and so you can keep benefiting from,
Mhm.
what's being, like, selling it
Exactly.
over and over and over again. So can you just like encapsulize it just a
Why I
little
did
bit?
it? Why I did it?
Yeah, and that, I mean,
Okay.
you've sold works
Not
yet?
yet. Not yet. And the reason why was that I was building up my portfolio, my NFT portfolio. I think I have about 50 pieces on now, between 38 and 50, because I keep adding. But what I'm doing is actually using the work that I had already, and stuff that may have sold already, because it's usually the ones that sell, that I've always wanted to know what it would look like if I had created it a different way. And so I basically did it because I wanted it to have value. I wanted to make sure that the work that I created and put in NFT actually will benefit the person and me at the same time, each time. Because I don't get resale value on the pieces that I have, that I've sold. It could go from one hand to the next to the next. Once it's out of my hands and it gets sold, I have no control over it. But with the NFT, it will always have an imprint: who owns it, who has it, and how much it sold, as well as the appreciating value. The great thing about it is that whenever it appreciates, I will get a cut. I will get 8 to 10%. But the other thing is that it also helps the existing physical work that is out there. And it makes me feel better that there's another avenue that I can go that protects the physical work that I've sold already, if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, it does. And and I also thought that it also, um the good thing I was thinking about it, I mean, definitely, is that you get return on everything that's sold over and over again. And
Yeah.
no, it's not the original work that you're selling. It's basically an image of it, right?
That's my choice. But there is a couple of pieces that it is the original work that I created on digitally, that I don't have a physical piece. But there's at least
But it's
like maybe
digital.
about
It's
five.
digital though.
It's digital, and it's the original that I turned into NFT. But the thing that I like some of the digital work that I did, that I know I'm going to go back and actually create a physical piece, because I like the way I made it in the digital format that's now an NFT. So I'm going to probably in about a year or two go back and get my favorite one and turn them into physical artwork.
Yeah. And from what I'm understanding is that this is a good time for artists to get
It
into
is.
the NFT.
It is.
And I'm sure many of you have heard of Bitcoins out there. So it's a different format per se, right?
Yeah, your art becomes a coin. Your art
Right.
becomes commerce. In Ethereum, it's more Ethereum based, and it's in the blockchain. So either way, your work is now. I have almost 50 pieces that are in the blockchain. I wanted that. Now, when it comes down to it selling, I know it will sell sooner than later. I just wanted to have it ready while I could physically as well as financially support it. And like, again, I'm going to say my research and development hubby, he knew, because he follows this. He was like, "Don't do it yet, don't do it yet." And then all of a sudden, he was like, "Now's a good time," because he was noticing how the market was, and it keeps evolving. So you try and get in before it evolves again. You know what I mean? It's like
Right. Right.
when it's evolving, that's when you get in there to sit there and go, okay, I can afford it now because the price just went down, or they're creating an extension of another blockchain, or this, that, and the other. So what you're really trying to do is make sure that you get in there if you really want it, and make an educated decision, and then fly with it. That's
Yeah.
how I assumed.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting because because it reminded me of even selling hard images, images
Mm-hmm.
with US currency,
Mm-hmm.
where the collector, there are collectors who know art, but there's collectors who only buy it because someone told them to buy it.
Yes.
And so um, just from what I've been looking at because of you recently, is that there are many investors who really don't know anything about the art. Like the artist may know more about art than
Mm-hmm.
the person who's investing. So in many
Mm-hmm.
instances, it's up to an artist or the artist to kind of teach those folks that
Exactly.
are investing
Exactly.
so that they can drum up interest in what it is that you're
Exactly.
selling. Does that make sense?
Exactly. No, you have it right. And what was really driving the market around the time I really started paying attention to it is the fact that there are other artists out there collecting each other's art. And though the collectors on the outside are watching who's collecting what, so that they can jump in and start
Right,
collecting, because
right.
they see that these particular artists are hot with each other. And then, and then that ball starts running. That's just one of the things, but that's the one true thing that was really driving that market crazy about a couple of months ago.
Mhm.
So that right there was really, the thing that made me like notice. Now, I don't know any other NFT artists. I know a lot of artists who want to be NFT artists, but at the same time, I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, and I did so much research, that, you get it right in your bone. You're like, I feel now is the time. I better jump on it now.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna look at your work.
Okay.
And can you tell, in case we have to get through, because I want to leave some time for questions and answers, where can artists go to find you and your work?
Well,
I
my
mean, not
website,
artists, but anyone.
I know. Well, my website is DLammieHanson.com. You can also find most of my current work. It's called the Dynamic Spirit Series that is at Gallery Glashard, which is in Chicago. And they are a husband and wife team, Black owned, and they're amazing. They really have such a wealth of art, and they're artists themselves. And they're on the South Side, and you can always go to gallerybushard.com, I think is in, and you can find me. They have a page for me there. I'm also I have prints at the Chicago City Center. It's called the Buddy Shop or the Buddy Store. Just look up Chicago City or Chicago City Center or Cultural Center. I could be getting that wrong, but they have prints there of my metal point work. And so I made prints of it because I wanted to make sure that at least if you don't see the original work, you can at least experience and collect the print version, as well as Four-Sided, which is in Chicago too.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we're going to share the screen. This is wonderful. Okay. Okay, hold on. Slideshow.
Would you like me to talk through some of them, or?
Yeah, yeah, we'll point. So I'm going to show a couple of quick videos first that leads up to that beautiful piece that you have behind you. So for
Okay.
those of you who are new to the Voices of Art, of course, we want you to come back. But I am a lover of quotes as well. So there's always quotes in each of the pieces. And then once we get to the end, we'll open it up for discussion. So yes, let's see, what does this say? Art does not reproduce what we see, rather it makes us see. Paul Klee. So I wanted to, was there sound or no?
No, there's no sound.
On this one, yeah.
Not on the, yeah, this one I did quick.
Yeah. So that piece, it's just so fascinating to me. So so after you paint the wood, you draw your image out.
Yeah, I draw my image out. I put at least like 5 coats of black on this, just so that when because I'm adding silver to it, but ever so often it nicks, and so you have to sit there and make sure that it just flows with all the
Wow.
black in there.
Wow. This is another view. I don't, okay. Just wanted people to see that. Let me see
Mm-hmm.
where my,
I was in love with the fact that he had corduroys on.
and tell me again who this is.
It's my brother Percy. When he
Okay.
was 3 or 4, he would know better. But the other thing is that the real photograph was taken by my eldest brother, Cooj. So Percy's is the younger brother, and Cooj is the oldest brother.
So
And
is there a chemical reaction between the black paint and the silver?
nope, but I have to tell you that there's a chemical reaction with the silver and air. So over time, it's going to patina. It's going to tarnish, not tarnish, but more patina, and you're going to see all these different colors that
I
silver
love
does.
it.
Yeah,
It's going to get richer.
it's going to get richer, and the great thing is, it's like as it gets richer, when it's in a particular environment, not too bright or whatever, it warms up. I was in love with the fact that he had a plaid shirt on.
And this is close to being
Yeah,
finished.
yeah. You see the circles on the top. I got rid of them because I'm about to do something else. I
Okay.
was trying to get a flow. I was trying to turn it into something, but I don't have time to truly figure it out. Because to me, things like that is very mathematical. So it's like I could not come to an equation, if you get my drift, to honor the image itself. So I found a different way to do it, and you'll see it when I finally finish the piece.
Okay. And this is just showing the size of it.
Yeah, the size, but also the way the light is hitting it. Look at how the light hits, and you see how it gets dark and then gets light as
Yeah.
the light just hits.
Wow. Wow.
This is what you're seeing there is actually what I did today. I'm presenting this on Monday to my center program group.
Nice.
Thanks, Kali. Now this one, he just died when I created this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you all know, it's John Lewis,
Yes.
represents John Lewis. And there's two quotes he had, but this one was my favorite, which is saying it's a necessary trouble and then good trouble, right? So my thing was like I took the clothes that he has
Mm-hmm.
on when he was arrested in 1967. I think it was
Wow.
67 or 63. So from the neck down is actually the image of his when you're arrested. What is that picture?
Oh,
Your
the
mug.
a mug shot.
It was a full body mugshot.
Really?
Yeah, and next to him in that mugshot was a what do you call it? A measurement to show how high he was, and then going across him, the original going across him had his number, your arrest number. So what I did, I took that picture, but then I took the picture of what he looked like 4 years ago, and I put that on the body because he was still doing the work. And
Mm-hmm.
so if I put the younger version of him, it doesn't balance out. For me, it doesn't balance out because I really started appreciating him more as I got older. I didn't know much about him when I was in New Orleans. I mean, not New Orleans, in Atlanta. So this one is actually called a necessary good black man. I think I called it.
Nice.
And this is my version of a Madonna and child.
Okay.
The true story behind this was the lady that is a real mother and child in New Orleans. Their house burnt down, and I did an image of the child when I was in Barcelona. I saw it and I called them and I was like, I would love to do an image of your daughter, and I need your permission. So right before I left New Orleans to come to Chicago, they had a fire, and it burnt up in the fire. The piece I created in Barcelona. So I wanted to do something more for them, and this was my present to them. So it was the mother and child,
Oh.
and she was holding her child, and she was actually standing at the time. She was standing in front of a shotgun in the French Quarter. So I just kind of made her like a saint.
Yeah.
Such a wonderful woman. This one is actually a sister piece to the piece that went into Ogden, that show that I told you I did.
Yes. Uh-huh.
This piece I actually created last year. And the one in Ogden was a portrait of his beautiful blackness. She is a portrait of her royal blackness.
Mm-hmm.
She has a crown of thorns, almost like the way Jesus would.
Mm-hmm.
And I put that, but in the way I did it was that I wanted her thoughts to not be intruded by other people. So the thorns were actually used to protect her thoughts and her beauty, the inside beauty and everything that makes her her. Now she has 50 rings around her neck. Count
Mm-hmm.
50. the most rings that you have is showing how more regal you are, your royalty.
Nice, nice.
Diana. So
Yeah,
this was one of the pieces that I did for my Essence show, my Essence Fest show. And this piece in particular actually helped me see that I can go in dimensions with the silver. And if you see in the corner, they look like they're going in and out. It looks like the corners are actually going underneath the circle. And it just shows when you're paying attention to the way the light is, the light helps you to do three-dimensional work on a two-dimensional piece.
nice.
And this is Anita Baker, same
Yeah,
thing. Um, it's
nice.
amazing because there's like, you're gonna laugh, but there's three body parts there. That it's her face, but it's three body parts, and I put them all together to make her. She always has an emotional stance about her, so I wanted to actually show that.
Yeah, she does.
And then I turned Mary J. Blige into Queen Elizabeth, so or Elizabethan. So this piece, it took about 3 weeks to do, and it was that braid that she had back in the day that became her crown, and the lace and everything was like just to show it. So the name of this piece is called HHS, which is Hip Hop Soul Queen Mary J. Where when you're talking about royalty, it's always Her Royal Highness. So HRS. So I put HHS, Hip Hop Soul Queen Mary J.
Nice, nice. I love this one.
Now, this was the signature piece for the whole show. This was the first piece I did. And it was literally 35.5 inches by 60. And it was, it's Erica Badu, and it's called Ever Evolving Erica Badu because she, at the time, and she still is, she was constantly changing her image. And this was the one I really liked. The reason why I liked this the most is because she would have this hat on, you can never see her eyes, but her lips told you everything.
That's
The
true.
words just spilled out. And this is another example. If you were in front, the Gallery Grichard has this piece, and if you were actually standing in front of it and you walk around it, you actually see how the silver has a three-dimensional pull to it as well.
Wow.
This
Lassie.
one, we know this. W.E. Du Bois, sorry. He was commissioned by a gallery in Great Barrington, which was his birthplace. And so it was commissioned by the gallery, who later gifted to the high school or middle school that was named. Now, that was named after him. Now, this piece is silver and gold. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's silver and 24 karat gold. It's a triptych, but it's called the phases of him because there were so many different phases when he was younger and older, and and in between, of course, where he just moved the world with his brilliance.
You're right. I said, I said Selassie, and then I said, wait a minute, and I said yes, Du Bois. I don't know why I said Selassie. I had Selassie on my mind, I guess.
I like the image of him because he had such this profile. He would always have this like profile. They just like how to do that. But anyway, sorry.
Oh, no, no, no. I mean, super distinguished. And you could see some of the um,
Yeah,
his Native
yeah,
American
exactly.
features in this. Beautiful. Okay, this is another.
So
Now, what is that material that you're holding?
that's gold.
Wow.
Hold on.
Oh my goodness.
24
Wow.
karat gold. I don't know if you can see me, but it was a plate that I'm going to give you the story to this. This piece of gold was actually given to me by my mother-in-law. Um, and she said maybe she can do something with it. She's in Bosnia. And it was just, and it was actually edges, just different edges. And you see how it's rounded now. It's just
Oh,
in,
wow.
but it works best when I was trying to figure out if I could melt it down, but it ended up working best if I work large. So I can be very detailed. So in what you're looking at now is my Indigo Blue series. And that was me stepping away from the black, and I wanted to see what blue and gold would look like. So there's actually the person, everything about their skin and clothes is all done in 24. This is 24 karat gold, and yeah, that's 24 karat gold. Um, and anything outside of that was brass,
I
just
want to get to the
lightweight.
blue so people can see
Yeah,
what you're talking about. I
yeah.
think it's, well, we're going to look at these works before we get
Okay.
there. I thought I had them all together.
This here is oh, by the way, the one before it was the brother piece to he is portrait of his royal blackness.
Oh,
And
okay.
the thing is about him is that his skin it has all this texture on it because I mixed plaster and all this stuff in it. But when I put the silver on it, the great thing about it was that it looked like he had inflictions on his skin. And it made me realize that there's so many men out there who have like knife wounds, bullet holes, things. And so there's all of the things that are happening, and yet he still has a stance of serenity or quietness to him.
Hmm.
Um,
Wow.
but this is the piece that was the piece that got into the Ogden. Um, this one it was so funny because it was very sensitive. It's almost like he's just looking, you know. It was amazing to me.
Now, do you consider yourself a self-taught artist?
I am self-taught.
Okay.
Yeah, I everything I do, I pretty much do in trial and error.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I've been doing it since I was 5, so there's a good chance that, I'll get it right.
Well, I think you've gotten it right. And yeah, I think you've gotten it right. And I think it's important to tell people that you're self-taught. I'm a self-taught quilter. So, and it's important to tell folks because it
Well,
lets people know that they can do whatever they decide they want to do.
yeah, that is true. But it's funny because when I was in Atlanta, I went to a gallery that was self-taught and outsider art, and they didn't want to take my pieces because they didn't think I was self-taught. Um, so this is another indigo. This is like the sister one of the piece that you saw previously I was talking about. Her body and fabric are all in gold, and everything else besides the blue is brass. I consider it water or air, depending on what what you're feeling. But this one's called exhilaration, like
Mm.
the utmost joy. There's all this feeling of like just the lightness of being, and that's why I kind of consider it more water than I do air, because that feeling that you can move fluid and like just seamlessly in water. And and this was her,
I love it.
and she's done in 24 karat gold. And now this one, so a friend of mine wanted me to do an image of her, which I did, but she let me use these other images of her to create something separate from the commission that she had. So this was done during the pandemic, and I wanted to use a real woman's body. And so she has one, and I used part of her apartment in New Orleans, and then I used part of Chicago and put it together. Um, I invented the chair, but it was one of those things that you're waiting to go back outside. You know how you're home
Mm-hmm.
and and if you live alone and you walk around naked if you wanted to, whatever. But it's almost like she's wanting to go back out into, the world. So this was a definite pandemic piece.
I love it. Whoops.
And it is an indigo. This one is okay. The same people who commissioned me to do W.E.B. Du Bois actually saw me working on this. I just did it because I just loved everything about it, like the history of the buildings and the beauty streamline of the trains. And it was Art Deco, and it was a challenge. I challenged myself to see if I could do it, and it worked. And it's another Indigo 7 piece. Now this is not fully gold. It's a cross between gold and brass and the indigo blue.
Nice, nice. Art is the only way to run away without leaving home.
True.
Twyla Tharp. Okay, let's see. I believe this is a different one.
It is a different one, but it's the first one but you see it has the 24 karat gold.
I fell in love with this video, and I kept watching it over and over again because of the sound. I don't know. It was like meditative to me. Like it's almost like you can get caught up in that sound and the
But
rhythm.
you see how the light is on it? That's the light from outside. That's the natural light from outside. And that's just one. Now this particular piece, the one that you just looked, it has 11 pieces to it. It comes as one big piece, but this is, I think, the biggest piece to it. But it's surrounded by another 10 pieces. Wow. And it's called Fall Into. It's Fall Into a piece.
Wow.
And it's 73 by 58.
Nice, nice.
Now, this is the first piece that I did in 2001. I mean, not 2001, 21, this year. I wanted to see if I could take my painting, my love for painting, and see if I can integrate my metal point. So now I consider this fusion of painting and metal point. And so what you're looking at right now is called Dynamic Spirit Series. And it is my love of, of, again, Alvin Ailey. This is called I Have a Revelation, and this is from Revelation. She's the main person in the front, if you know the dance of Revelation. And then you see all these holes and angles going through. It's almost like a divinity, per se, like the holiness as well as the sense of direction. It was the very first piece of my Dynamic Spirit series.
So is the fusion of painting and metal point the way you put the paint on the wood?
Well, this one's actually canvas. So this one is, I get all my blues. I put layers and layers of blues. I never know how it's going to come out, but I try and keep it as matte as possible. And then I start seeing if the metal is actually going to take, if you understand what I mean. It's like, you never know if the metal is going to come through, if it's going to shine. So what I did here was, you see where her chest and her arms is, I did the painting very lightly, and then I built up the metal on her arms and her chest. So if you saw the light on it a different way, you will still see her face, her arms, and you'll see like the pattern of her dress, but you might not see the actual shape of the dress because the dress shape is all metal.
Ah.
So it's reflective.
Wow.
It's more reflective.
Nice.
She is called a dynamic woman. And she ended up being, you see, anything that's around her, that's all brass. And then she is done in paint. Her eyes are in metal, and her choker is actually metal and painting. And everything else that you see in the circles, that's all metal.
Wow. Wow.
I actually turned that piece into a you know when they animate it?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Uh,
Yeah. Wow.
this one was a combination. I saw the necklace on one person, and yet I love the way the head was on the other. So this is actually two or three bodies to make the one. And I love the direction of the way her head was tilted, but I love the tone of her skin. I knew it was going to look gorgeous in this blue. So I wanted to give her that passion of like she's it's called the charms we wear. If you see the choker, which can be considered two things. Everything on her could be considered two things. The choker can be either a vice to quiet the voice or to show your royalty. The chain that is hanging from the choker could be what keeps you in place or can be just jewelry. And the medallion could be what bought you or what you turn around and you go, I'm worth it. You know, it everything on her basically has a double meaning, and I tried to. It had a negative meaning, and I tried to turn it into a positive.
Yeah, I just, it's so fascinating to me that you take this, what people would conceive to be a hard material,
Hmm.
and you turn it into, like, you control it.
Yeah,
It's almost like you're like stroking it. And
you have to. It's actually stroking. It really is. And the thing is that it. You think I'm controlling it. Sometimes it's controlling me. Because if I don't pay attention, I could really mess it up and I'd have to wipe everything and start all over again.
nice. Wow.
And this one, I think it's two body parts, but the what do you call it? The necklace and her, she's one, but that hand was somebody else's hand. But I put that hand there because I wanted her to look as though she was, you know, she was in control. And you see how I did the plaid in the back.
Mm-hmm.
The plaid kind of made between the plaid and the pearls. It made me think of worthy of Fifth Avenue, kind of you
Mm-hmm.
know, worthiness. And her eyes are in gold, like the lashes are in gold.
Mm-hmm.
And just doing the necklace in the brass and shaping them just right it was challenging, but I'm glad it got done.
Yeah, beautiful.
This one just so. It's called
Yeah, I
Twisted
saw that on
Hand, and
Instagram.
yeah, it's called Twisted Hand and Chain Link Dress. And if you actually look at her hand, it's the opposite hand. Like her hand is twisted, literally twisted. But it's also it's kind of quirky if you truly think about it. And I'm big about the afro. So I wanted to, create this whole dynamic of what the afro is like
Mhm.
and how it becomes part of this whole other feeling. Um, and I almost would say it's crossing over into an Afrofuturistic feeling.
Mhm.
Um, and that's why I was very, very proud of this one.
I love it. I think a lot of your work looks very Afrofuturistic.
It is. It's my inspiration, but you never know. You never know how it's going to come across on the other side, until it's done and, up and feeling. So.
Yeah, and that whole thing about seeing Black people years down the road, and then the whole NFT. piece,
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
all makes a lot of sense, to be honest.
Yeah, the dynamic spirit series, I turned mostly all of them into, except for the last one, into alternative NFTs.
Nice, nice.
Ah,
This is
this
gorgeous.
one was, he's a real person. He is a dancer from Chicago, and he let me use one of his photos. And with every single dynamic spirit up to a certain point, I did layers, went over it, did layers, went over it. So his skin really is shining, you like vibrantly. And I just wanted to give an alternate version of the beauty of a man, if that makes any sense.
It does.
And he's a dancer, and you just never know, but the muscles as well as the grace, and that was what I was trying to convey. And then all the dynamic of the, I think he's the first one that I did where I started doing patterns. You may not know this, but I'm going to tell you now, those are circles. Those are just constant tons of circles that interchange with each other, that form these images, and that I started, designing.
I was
So
just going to mention that.
yeah,
I was just going to ask you, and because even the circle around his head, it
you see
almost
it.
looks like a halo.
It is a halo. I did that intentionally.
Hmm.
I like the idea, and most of the stuff that I have done with halos, I think it goes back to, it's not just the Catholic thing, but I'm going to take it another step further. I want to show a level of connection to their own divinity, and that's why I use the halos.
Nice, nice. And the whole Catholic thing or Catholic culture
Mm-hmm.
is there's a serious connection between Catholic culture and African culture. So, so that it all makes sense to me, all of it.
Cool.
This
And
is
there she goes again. I love this one because it's you see those bubbles that she's holding on to,
beautiful.
that's going from her hand and coming all around her. That's her joy. She
Nice,
wears her joy. She wears her
nice.
joy. And you see how she's looking up. She's wearing her joy. I love the fact that we can choose our joy.
I love
You
it.
know,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it.
She's this one cracks me up because it's like she has this determination, but it's time, alignment, and destiny. And if you watch her, if you actually look at her watch, it's actually a watch, and it's also a timepiece inside the watch. So it's like the, what do you call it, the hourglass of
Mm-hmm.
the sand piece. It's inside the watch. And then if you see going across her chest, it's actually the phases of the moon. So my thing about this, and this is definitely kind of an Afrofuturistic feeling here, um, it is so much more important. Okay, so I'm about to zone out. I know I'm the one who created, but I love the way that the light shines on her skin, or on this forearm here. You know how we always used to say we're too greasy or we're too oily? I
Mm-hmm.
don't care. Look how beautiful the light shines on in the depth of her skin. That was my point. It's
Mm-hmm.
the point of the beauty of your skin, and then the piece here is about your time is always on time.
I love
Just
it.
remember, you're just get aligned. Your time and alignment in your destiny, and that's
Wow.
how I that's what she's about.
Wow. Mm.
And this one is called Centered is Golden.
Mm.
And it's funny because this wasn't supposed to exist, this piece. The last piece I did of the man was supposed to be my last piece.
Mm-hmm.
But I was asked to do a live drawing, a live painting, and Dorothy was there. Dorothy Burge was there, and I started this piece there, and I just at a particular time I was like, well, I'm going to have to finish it. So I actually finished it at the second live drawing that they asked me to do, and the next day it sold, and I was just like, but I didn't get a chance to say bye.
I love it. Well, it's a good thing you photograph your pieces.
I could have done a better job on that one. I did that at the gallery, but we did it. We got through it.
We did. Oh my goodness. Fabulous. Fabulous.
We did.
So now we get to answer some questions. We're going to go through some comments. Let me just go up and see how I can do this. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. I always have to find that little thing. Okay. All right. Oh, Dorothy. So, okay, that was from the beginning. Great memories. Hey there, Lammy from New Orleans. Great, good. Wait a minute. I want to get to some
I
questions.
just want to say, I want to say one thing to New Orleans. Who that?
Right?
They know what that means. Who that?
Um, okay. Oh, Colette Fournier says, I love New Orleans and I'm from Brooklyn. Never made that connection. Colette Fournier. Um, Leona said, love you and your history. Who knew when you were talking
Oh,
about your history and misses you so?
I miss
Um,
her too. Oh,
your
I miss
brother says, I'm on, sis. Hi from Australia, sis. Your other brother.
her. Yeah,
Susan, beautiful work.
she's
Let's,
an awesome person. She also makes excellent masks.
oh,
It's
what
just,
kind of masks?
she makes the, I'm talking about like Mardi Gras masks. She
Oh,
makes these
nice.
beautiful ones.
Okay, well, maybe I'll need to look her up and interview
Look her
her.
up. Oh, Dante's Masquerade. She does that.
Okay.
Hey,
Um,
Kathy.
Colette
Wait, she
said,
said, oh,
Sister D, how did you move your work around the country?
um, basically, whenever I moved, I just put it in storage, and I would, wherever I was, then I would, because right now I'm in Chicago, and if it's not at the gallery, it's in the storage, I would just move. But the funniest thing is that what we did here, when we moved to Chicago, we actually used the U-Haul pod and packed all the artwork in and had it
Mm-hmm.
here. And it
Nice.
really helped. But when I was in New Orleans and in Atlanta, I drove everywhere. I
Mm-hmm.
drove, yeah. I just get a big enough car to fit everything.
Nice. Ruth Riddick said Lammy is so talented.
I've known
Um,
her for so long. Thank you,
nice.
Jackie.
Leona said, are you selling the original? And I think we answered that question when you were talking about the NFT
Hmm.
pieces and,
Yeah, most of the NFTs that are sold that you see or have been sold already.
mhm. Okay. Um, are you selling? Okay. Kylie,
Hmm.
how do you say it?
Kalise. I
Kylie.
always like Kalise.
Kylie.
I hope I'm saying it
Um,
right.
oh, thank you for putting these links in for us.
Thanks, Kalise.
Elaine Robnett Moore. Hi, Elaine from Maryland. The work is unbelievable. You capture the power, the beauty, the majesty of your subject and our people. Your work is alive.
Thank you. That is my goal, is to continue to show the majesty that was not given in the books, let's say.
Good, good. Yeah, so beautiful. Linda Sutton. Hi, Linda. Wonderful work and great information. Thanks for sharing. All the best, Lammy, for
Thank you, Linda.
continued success. Thanks, Myra. I look forward to Wednesdays. I missed the last two, but I am glad to be back and loving it. Paulette Moore. Um, I truly appreciate how all of you took me under your wings and changed me from a country bumpkin accent and all to a city slicker. I would have never had an interest in y'all's boyfriends because my eyes were only for Wayne Bellamy. I'm so grateful that I had my family there to guide and protect me. Oh, that's so, I love it.
Bye,
Myra,
Leona.
please discard the part of my chat that starts with Paulette Moore. I don't know how that jumped in there from a text message. Oh my goodness, sorry. Okay, I don't know how that jumped in
That was
there from a
funny though.
text message. It was funny, and so see, you didn't even have to say anything. The because we would have thought it was part of the whole
I
piece.
know. Uh-huh.
Okay, okay. All right. I can't delete it. Sorry. We think it's part of the art and we think that we know what you're talking about. It's like code. So we're
So
not
you
going to
know
worry
what?
about it, right?
Yeah, we're not gonna
Yeah,
worry
it's
about it.
code. It's code.
We are so
Elaine,
okay.
Myra, once again, you have gone beyond. Oh my God, watching the video and seeing the finished pieces once again is so moving, so out of body, in spirit, such raw, unbridled energy, power. Thank you. That's so beautiful. And yes,
Thank
the
you.
work is that. I'm telling you, amen to choosing our joy when you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Colette says, Dr. Myra, what is the connection between Catholic culture and African culture? I tell you, it's a long, well, to probably put it in like a little nutshell, which is really not in a nutshell. Um, a lot when Africans, of course, didn't have such a good relationship with the culture that brought them to the different
Mm-hmm.
parts of the world. Um, there were ways that Africans would find themselves in those cultures in the Catholic and Catholicism. So the Orisha, if we look at the Orisha images and the saints in many instances, or the Madonna, there are similarities, for example, between when we look at the Madonna, she's wearing blue and white. Blue and white happens to be Yemanya's colors, blue and white. So there were ways that, I mean, it's the same way that when Africans went to Brazil and they did the capoeira. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was a dance. It came across as a dance, but the captives didn't know that they were fighting moves where they could take someone out with that form of
Mm-hmm.
dance. But there's a lot of history that you can find in books, and now, of course, we can Google everything. So that's just like a little nutshell. I mean, but it's much bigger than that. Um, let's see. Leona, when are you coming back to New Orleans?
I have no idea. I I have no idea. I'm still trying to navigate Chicago.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, you
But
all will
she'll
meet
know.
again.
She'll know. She'll
Yeah,
know.
you will know. Dorothy Burge, all of the people who were there loved the last piece as she was creating it. I can imagine. I would love to see you work. Susan, miss you, darling. Um,
I miss her too.
Sauda, incredible work. Love your techniques, vivid and powerful. Effie, hi, Lammy. I
Effie.
have a question on the texture and how rough or smooth the paint has to be to make the silver transfer to the paint medium.
Well, it has to be a matte, most definitely a matte, because that way the silver can leave a trace of silver onto the surface. As I started in 2017 to now, I've done so many different versions, and I've gotten to the point of having the mattest of the matte for the black. If you were doing on white, you just have to make sure that you have it. There's a thing that Golden or Liquitex uses called silver point grounding. I just make my own. I just rather have my own because I know what my pressure is.
Nice. Nice. So you end up having a relationship with the paint. You have a relationship with
I
the,
have to.
yeah, the
I have
relationship between the
to.
paint and the silver, or the paint and the
Uh-huh.
bronze, or gold, or whatever it
Yeah.
is. And you know the
I.
pressure
You
and
always have
all
to
of that.
test it out. Yeah, you have to
Right.
test it
Mhm.
out. When I was doing the indigo pieces, I actually mixed the blue myself. So I had to turn around and make sure that I didn't mess up. That was the toughest relationship I had because I didn't have any more blue.
Ah,
And so
wow.
I had to be very careful. Like I said,
Wow.
you can't, this is not erasing. If you mess up, you really have to paint over it and start all over again because if I see the mistakes, you're going to see it too, and you won't see what's special about it.
Nice. Elaine says, centered is golden. Once again, mind blowing. The way you
It's,
present the bodies is as if their essence is glowing, coming through their skin. They shine.
that, that was my goal. That was my goal. And my goal is to show the brilliance of black and brown skin. In this case, it's blue when you see it. But it's to show because it's all based on acceptance is all based on the color of the skin, you know. And I just want all color of black skin to actually be shining, to be resilient, to be glowing. And so there's one thing I did not mention is that I use a white that comes through as a metal too. So I keep going over it and then it shines through and I keep going over it and it shines through. So, I just, what you're seeing is layers upon layers of blue and white and depth. Because when I get to the finished piece, I want you to see the depth of everything that made it special to begin with.
I love it. Leona said, sorry, I'm going to eat dinner. Love you and your artwork. Miss you and come for a visit.
Thank you.
Charnay said, what are 3 tips you would give to someone looking to get into NFTs?
So the coolest thing about the NFT thing, there's so many videos on YouTube, but most of them are, if you're talking about being an artist, um, for NFTs, you would really, okay, if you would have to cipher through these things. But there is one guy, he's called Digital Addict, that I sent it to Myra. Um, he's the one whose video, and I watched at least 20 videos that made it make sense to me as an artist, not as a collector or a freebie or this, that, but as an artist who wants to invest in her her career as an NFT artist. So I think his name is Digital Addict, and
Yeah, I
it's a
think that's what it
tutorial
is.
for artists. It's a tutorial for artists. Now his video is about an hour and 28 minutes. I did not watch it all the way through. I took things, I took notes, and then I went about my business and thought about it. So do that, and you can actually listen to him, hear certain things, write it down, and
Mhm.
then do your research. From that point on, you'll just keep doing, and then by the time you're done watching him, you'll feel like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think I liked him. I liked his video because
Mm-hmm.
I don't think English is his first language. It
No,
doesn't
it's
seem
not.
like it is. So
Mm-hmm.
he really is basic, or
Mm-hmm.
he simplifies everything because that's
He
how
really did.
we learn a foreign language. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and I love it. And he writes, it's almost like a PowerPoint within a video. So he has the information written out, so he's reading it as well.
And
So
he's animated, and he's an
yes,
animation.
and he animates
Yeah,
himself. Yeah.
he created an avatar of himself.
And he's a dad, and and so he's hustling to make some money.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Rosalind Jones, amazing work. The details are stunning. It's a pleasure seeing your art for the first time. Damali, thank you for sharing your process. The work is beautiful.
Thank you.
Percival says, I can't wait for the next evolution.
That's Percy. That's Percival right here.
Oh, oh, nice. I love
That's
it. I love it. Charnay says, great, thank you. This has been so wonderful, uh, Lammy.
I am so glad.
Yeah,
Got
this
through
has
it.
been
We
really a pleasure.
did it.
Yes, we did. And it went by so fast, and we've even gone over time. But I'm
I'm
so
sorry.
happy that, we can take all the time we want. And if it's just you and I here talking, we can just talk. But that will never happen. Oh, Effie said, I love this show. Thank you. You'll be on the mailing list now. And oh, Charnay said, counting down. Charnay's my assistant.
Okay.
She says counting down the fundraise to the fundraiser. Um, but we'll keep taking them. The show's going to be mounted October 15th.
Hmm.
Accepting donations. This show I do, we do, and out of the goodness of our hearts, all the artists and who I interview, they say yes, you can interview me. Um, and because I just want to archive all of their greatness so that our greats can see the work that we're doing, that you all are doing. So thank you everyone for coming out. This has been
Thank you,
amazing.
everyone.
Hi, Lewis Thompson.
That's my
Thompson.
other brother.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, thank
That's my other brother
you.
from Australia. Remember I told you my brother from Australia?
Yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, so thank you so much, Lammy. This has been
Thank you, Myra. Thank
amazing.
you,
I know.
everybody, for showing up. I'm like so happy. We did it.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And for those of you who came on a little behind, um, we will have a link. You can go to myrabrowngreen.com. Remember, I spell my name with an H on the end, Myra with an H, Myrah. And all of the back interviews are there, over a year's worth. Thank you, Effie. And, I'm just so grateful to be able to do this. This happens every other Wednesday. Again, and I think those of you who were not here in the beginning, the Fulton Art Fair will be art will be starting to archive their members, and the Fulton Art Fair is one of the oldest Black arts organizations in the world
I
that's
remember
still
it vividly.
functioning. Yes, and still hanging on the fence. I think they're in their 63rd or 64th year.
It's that
And
old?
yes,
Oh my God.
63rd. Thank you, Charnay. And I will be interviewing, they've asked me to interview their membership. So once a month, on the first Monday of every month, I will be interviewing one of their members. And the first interview will be this Monday, October 4th. We'll be interviewing Carl McIntosh.
Mhm.
So that'll be exciting. Um, but thank you. Thank you again, my sister. This has been a pleasure. This has been,
Thank you so
and
much.
we're going to
I'm
have
just
to stay
honored.
in
I'm
touch.
honored. Oh, of course, girl. I got your phone number.
Mm. Let me find out, as the young people say. Yeah, this
Have a
has been
beautiful
really
one,
good.
everybody. Have
Colette
a
says,
beautiful one.
which link doesn't seem to work, Colette?
The fundraiser one.
Oh, I didn't send, I'm gonna send a new link out. Well, we'll send a new link out for the Monday interview. Oh, for the crypto art. Okay, I wish I could put the link in there, but I can't. So maybe what I'll do is have Charnay send it out. I don't know, do a special email blast, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, Charnay says I've taken a picture of it. Okay. So if anybody's interested that can't find it, you can email me, go to my website and email me, and we'll send you the link. All right. Thank you,
And you
everyone.
will. Can you? Is there a way you can save the chat so I could have it?
I believe that Zoom does that. So,
Okay. Very good. Very good.
yes, we should be able to save the chat. Definitely.
I
I'm
would.
going to pray that we can. We're going to call
Well.
on some of the saints, right? Um,
Oh, that was so New Orleans.
ah, yeah.
Okay, Well,
All
thank
right
you.
then. All right. Peace and love, everyone. Have a great rest of the week and and we are safe. I'm not going to say stay safe. We are safe. All
And
right.
well.
Peace and
Okay.
love.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.